Hi and welcome back to the channel. It's nice to see you. Do anyone or does anyone out there in YouTube land remember the 1970s very well? In the 1970s I was a kid growing up and I used to go to school in Chelmsford, and I remember coming home from school in probably late November, and it was about 1977 I think, or about that time, and we were going through a rough period at that time. We'd got a Labour government and everybody was on strike. Everybody. The power stations, all the workers were on strike, the coal miners were on strike, everybody was out. The miners were on strike because of closure of pits, and they wanted sort of better working conditions and more money, so they weren't producing the coal. And the power stations were all on sort of half time, where they would be sort of generating power 3 days a week or 4 days a week, and we'd have several days without any power. So the power used to go off in the afternoon. I can remember coming home from school, and on my single-decker bus, we only had a single-decker bus from Braintree, and the driver, well, he was a character in his own right. When he was sober, he couldn't drive the bus at all. When he was 3 sheets to the wind, he drove very well, and sort of like that. And if he hadn't had a drink, he used to crash the bus. He would crash into bollards and things like that. But when he was drunk, he drove very well indeed. He avoided everything. He went round it like this. He did. Well, I remember coming home, and we'd come up the high street, and I remember looking in the shop windows, and you'd see people walking around, like Woolworths for instance. You'd see people walking around the shop with candles in their hand and serving customers with cash at the till. No electronic tills. The only supermarket that stayed open during that time was the Co-op, because they still had the old wind-up tills in the Co-op, which meant that they didn't need electricity to make them work. They could just wind them up and still serve their customers. But the other supermarkets closed. So up the high street we came. We trundled up the high street. The only thing that had lights on it was the bus. The bus illuminated the whole high street as we went up. I used to get off at the top of the town, and I remember walking up the road, and you'd see hurricane lamps in people's windows, and you'd see people walking around with candles in their hands. And I remember coming down the side of the house and coming through the back door, and Mum would be in the kitchen, and she would have a hurricane lamp over here, and she'd have a candle here and a candle over there, and she'd be cooking by candlelight, because we got gas cooker. We've always had a gas cooker. So she'd be cooking with candles, and we'd have our dinner in the other room, and we'd have candles on the table, and we'd eat our dinner with candlelight. Now this didn't really affect my dad, because the lights came back on again at 7 o'clock, and he didn't get up to go to work until about 8 o'clock in the evening, so it didn't really affect him. But we were in an appalling state, really. As I said, everyone was on strike. The miners, the electricity companies couldn't produce electricity all the time because they weren't getting supply of coal. It was a hard time. It really, really, really was a hard time. And I think back And I think back with fond memories actually. I think how exciting it was as a kid to come trundling up the high street on a bus with the lights all out, and it was like wartime in a way, I must admit. It was weird, and I think back at it now with fun really. It was fun. I found it fun. But it was a good time, I think, for me anyway, for me. For lots of other people it wasn't, but for me it was. As you can see, I've had a haircut. Yeah, lots of people have commented on how long my hair was getting, so I thought perhaps I ought to cut my hair. Now, how do you cut your hair? Do you go to a hairdresser's? Do you go to a barber's? Do you pay exorbitant amounts of money to have your hair done? I don't. I go up to the bathroom and I cut my own hair. Now, if you've ever tried to cut your own hair, it is very, very difficult, because I've got a mirror on the wall and I have a hand mirror and I hold it like this, and I've got scissors in my hand, or I've got an idiot cutting hair cutter, right, which I go like this with, like this, yeah, and then along the back and along the top and down the side, yeah, and then you get your hand mirror and then you do the same at the back, but you have to look in the mirror behind you so you can see in this mirror what's happening behind you, so you can do the same thing behind you. You have to get your hand all the way round here like this to get round here, because I can't do it with my left hand because I can't get this arm up there, so I have to do it like this. And then when you've done all that, you get the scissors, right, and you sort of get your arm like this, yeah, and you hold it up, and then you sort of, you're looking in your hand mirror, because you can see it in the one on the wall, and you get the scissors and you go snip, 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 and then you sort of turn around like this, and you get your arm like this, and you snip, snip, and you get your scissors right up here, snip. It is very hard. If you've ever tried to cut your own hair, it's not easy. So I thought, well, I'll have a haircut. As someone mentioned it, I thought perhaps I'd better do it, yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Until the next one, bye for now.